Is a dialogue between the host and the listeners about their relationships. This show is not an attempt to assess, diagnose, or treat any mental health or illness condition. Please consult your physician, psychiatrist, or psychotherapist for personal matters.
Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inner Voice Show. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, and I have Sean in studio. And this is an opportunity for us to chat about you, about your life, about your relationships, and all that is important to you in life. In this show, I'll bring you the latest research, obviously about depression, and we will talk to John Mabry, and then we'll have opportunity to talk to you and chat with you. So please call me at the studio, 951-922-3532. We'll be right back with the latest research.
Have you ever wished you could just wake up one day, reach across your nightstand, and hit the life reset button? Let's face it, the struggles and frustrations of everyday life leave millions of women and men around the globe yearning for a new way. And the new way is right here in Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine. You can get it now at Foojan.com or Amazon.com. Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want. You deserve it.
Join the conversation every Monday afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific for Inner Voice Heartfelt Chat with Dr. Foojan. Dr. Foojan has a direct approach to getting you to free your mind. Inner Voice is a live call-in show where you can chat about your life and all that matters to you in your relationships. Inner Voice Heartfelt Chat with Dr. Foojan, Monday afternoons at 3 p.m. Pacific on Smart Talk, KMET 1490 AM, and on the Internet stream.
Dr. Foojan Zeine is a psychotherapist, a marriage and family therapist, and a life coach with more than 27 years of experience. She is the author of the Awareness Integration Model, which has been researched and published in numerous international journals. Dr. Foojan has offices in Beverly Hills, Irvine, and Woodland Hills, California, and also consults online and by telephone. Make an appointment with her today by calling 818-648-2140 or go online to www.foojan.com. That's www.foojan.com.
Well, welcome back to Inner Voice Show. Last week, two people, Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, committed suicide. So within the next 15 minutes, the suicide hotline began getting calls over 25% than before. So what we know as in mental health is that when someone, and especially someone in a high profile, commits suicide, everyone who's been thinking about suicide gets activated, their depression gets activated, and what they've been thinking about or maybe planning about starts being exasperated, and they call. And thank God that they're calling. And the people who do call and get help, obviously, will get better and get treated. And they will have something in their life where they could be looking forward for hope, some type of a hope. Part of the reason that people commit suicide is because the hope of the future and what they think they can do, or the vision of the future is no longer there, or is so painful that people no longer want to have this beautiful life as looking upon it as beautiful. Some of the conversations that I've had with people within 27 years that I've worked and have worked in suicide hotline and worked with suicidal clients, it's been that either they're they're feeling a loss or a grief of some sort. Maybe they're going through a lot of financial problem, or losing someone very, very close to them that they cannot tolerate, whether they have legal problems that they don't know how to get rid of, financial problems who they can't get rid of, physical health problems which they don't know what to do with, and mental problems. And mental health issues and mental illness issues has also been part of the depression, bipolar, schizophrenia. A lot of those types of mental illnesses also may lead to suicide. So I want to talk to you about how to prevent for yourself or someone that you notice that they might be talking to you in a way that it's as if they no longer want to live. So some of the factors to look upon, your friends, your family, see that if they're giving away some of the most important things that are in their life, and they're talking about the future in a very hopeless and powerless way, in a very negative way. Ask them, have they ever thought about suicide? I think that we shy away from asking, and sometimes when we shy away from asking, they don't talk about it because they know that it's a taboo and everybody will hold them back. I have been a head of the 2 outpatient hospitalization. I worked in many of the inpatient hospitalization and worked with suicide clients. Some people are really seeking for help, and they will ask for help. And if nobody's listening, then they figure I can't do much, and they let go of their life. Some people are so sure that they want to do this, they won't talk to anybody, and they will plan it out. So if you are depressed and thinking about not wanting to be here, I want to tell you that depression has treatment, and hopefully that you will call the suicide hotline, or a friend or a therapist or someone, and you will get help. And because there are ways to hold on and look at life in a different way to be able to create a fulfillment in life. And actually, our guest is John Mabry, which has gone through a lot of ups and downs, and he wants to tell us about how he has shifted his life from where the problem was, and how he looked at life in a different way and supported himself to now to become someone who's supporting everyone else. If you have friends and family who might be depressed or talking in a way that they're negative, then please ask them to get help. Try to talk to them in a way that it's not shaming them or making them wrong or making them feel belittled, and support them. There's a high level of suicide rate everywhere around the world, and some of the ways that we can treat suicide has been with medication, with psychotherapy, with different types of psychotherapy. One of them is awareness integration model that I've been working with. So please get help. The latest research that came out in June 7th this year, 2018, in the University of Pittsburgh School of Health Sciences also looked at depression and social media, because obviously, especially with the younger age, social media has contributed to depression, and then for many of the teens to suicide. And it shows that the negative versus positive social media experiences and depressive symptoms, or the negative experiences on social media, carry more weight than positive interactions when it comes to the likelihood of young adults reporting depressive symptoms. According to this new analysis, the finding may be useful for designing interventions and clinical recommendations. So this study shows that when in some way, when there's public shaming, when there's a way that you think that every single person who's out there in the social media shows that they are feeling better and that they're having fun, much more fun, and they're social and they're getting liked by all of these people, and you don't, you feel very, very isolated, and there's an assumption that everybody has it better than you and there's nothing that you can do. So this study shows that every little negative interaction that happens within the social media, it raises depression much higher than any of the positive interaction would raise your self-esteem or self-confidence. So the way that you can be with the social media is to watch for your usage of it, how it affects your mood. And if it's affecting your mood, which is escalating your depression, please get help and learn how to utilize social media in a way that is actually intended to do. So we'll be right back with John Mabry.
Have you ever wished you could just wake up one day, reach across your nightstand, and hit the life reset button? Let's face it, the struggles and frustrations of everyday life leave millions of women and men around the globe yearning for a new way. And the new way is right here in Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine. You can get it now at Foojan.com or Amazon.com. Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want. You deserve it.
Join the conversation every Monday afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific for Inner Voice, Heartfelt Chat with Dr. Foojan. Dr. Foojan has a direct approach to getting you to free your mind. Inner Voice is a live call-in show where you can chat about your life and all that matters to you in your relationships. Inner Voice, Heartfelt Chat with Dr. Foojan, Monday afternoons at 3 p.m. Pacific on Smart Talk, KMET 1490 AM, and on the Internet stream.
Welcome back to the Inner Voice Show. And for all of you who are listening, call us at 951-922-3532. I'm excited to have John Mabry with us. He serves as the Director of Public Outreach and is the host of High Sobriety podcast for addiction campuses. He has a master's in counseling and is an inventor, award-winning speaker, actor, and a stuntman for 12 years and a Screen Actor Guild. He has worked in NCIS, ER, the movie Superbad, and among others. His work has been featured in People's Magazine, USA Today, and Access Hollywood. He has completed a triathlon, and all of his accomplishments followed by a leg amputation from a car accident, which also killed a friend while attending college. And he's here to talk to us about his life, his success, his hardship, and who he is today after all of it. Thank you, and welcome, John, to our show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Such an honor to be here. Thank you.
John, tell us about, I know that you had a life of being in the high rollers, of going into being an entertainer and a party man, and going from Playboy Mansion and with Adam Sandler's and Emma Stone to living a trailer. So that you had the high, you had the low, and tell us how your experience had gone and where you are today.
Man, it's been a crazy, crazy ride. So I could go on for hours, but how long do we have? How long is the show gonna last? What's my time frame here?
We're going to talk all the way to 3:40 just for you.
All right, great. Okay, so I grew up in a household. The best way to describe my childhood is privileged and smooth for the most part. And when I went off to college, everything was looking great. I was named class clown. In high school, I was named class clown, most outgoing, most school-spirited, and best personality. I mean, I had all the charm and I had all the, charisma that you would want to have. And going into college, it carried over into the party scene. And I did the fraternity thing and excelled at that, highly excelled at the fraternity party lifestyle. But life was manageable. I was able to manage, grades and school and class and everything. But it wasn't until a traumatic car accident happened. We were coming back from a cruise, a spring break cruise that I had set up, and at the time I was a senior in college. I had a full ride scholarship, the same scholarship athletes got. I was doing video for Baylor University's video staff, and so I got I felt like an athlete inside. I felt like, I've arrived. I was social chair of our fraternity, and life couldn't have been going any better until the unthinkable happened. A tire blew out in a friend's SUV as we were coming back from this spring break, booze cruise, basically. And my legs got out the window and crushed numerous times. The car rolled around 10 times. Wow. Is what witness reports say. And unfortunately, it killed a friend of mine, killed the driver. I mean, nobody did anything wrong. There was no drinking or driving or anything like that. But her name was Ashley Furman, and so I like to keep her memory alive by stating her name whenever I do interviews. And I ended up going into 14 surgeries in 1 year. I had 14 operations. 14. And So to go from the highest of highs of, man, I feel like an athlete on campus, to now I'm living in my dad's office at home in a hospital bed, and I can't go to the bathroom by myself.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty disconcerting, and gave me reasons to go ahead and turn to something else more than the alcohol that I was doing in college. And those painkillers gave me an opportunity to escape the physical pain, but also as I progressed through my surgeries, I ended up going into an amputation and decided to amputate my leg below the knee. And I went out to conquer the world to show everybody I'm okay and I'm fine, and put on the act and put on the class clown act. Is harder than ever. And those painkillers really helped out. Those painkillers really, served a good purpose in both my physical pain and emotional pain.
You have gone through a lot of loss, not only the loss of your body part, the loss of your friends, and then the loss of your brother. There's so much loss. And then it seems like at that moment, the best thing that it was introduced in your life in the name of supporting you and helping you was the painkillers. And then that by itself became your worst enemy.
Yeah, it's not, and it's a painkiller I'm getting from a doctor. I got a prescription from the doctor that my insurance is paying for. There's nothing wrong with it, it's okay. And that's what so many people start off with, the painkillers to kill physical or emotional pain, and the next thing you know, they're completely consumed by it.
Yes.
And so, and you described the loss of my brother. I found my brother dead from an overdose in his home in Beverly Hills. After my accident, I moved out to California, got a master's in counseling, and then I stumbled on one foot into some acting and stunt work. And literally, I was a body double for my cousin, who's an actor. His name is Josh Henderson. He's been in Desperate Housewives and the show The Arrangement on E! right now. And so he called me up and said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna lose my leg in this show based on the war in Iraq. Can you help me out?" So I ended up moving to L.A. to help him out with this show, and then I found there's a nice niche in the industry. And the worst place for up and coming addict and alcoholic is to go to Hollywood. So I fell right into that trap. Man, yes, I want my name in lights. I want to be seen. I want people to know me. I want to be seen with people. And I got completely caught up in it. And
yes.
When I got to the Playboy Mansion after being on a bunch of shows that you described earlier, the one the younger kids appreciate is Superbad with Jonah Hill and Seth Rogen and those guys. But not too long after the Playboy Mansion party with Adam Sandler and David Spade and John Lovitz and all those guys, I found my brother dead from an overdose. And here's the thing: is the drugs didn't kill my brother. The drugs weren't my problem. What the problem is the stigma. It's the stigma
yes.
of addiction. It's the stigma of suicide that you talked about at the opening of the show. It's the stigma of we don't want to talk about it because it's dirty, and it seems like if you have that kind of issue, then you're a bad person, that you don't have enough willpower, or you have some kind of moral failing. That's not the case.
And I think addiction is in some sort it's a self-destruction. So the same way depression goes into a space and we begin to self-destruct, one way of destroying ourselves is using alcohol and drugs in the form of destroying ourselves. And yes, even addiction itself becomes an illness, but it's an illness that it's your mind going against your own mind and your body. So it's like one organ going against everything else. So the stigma becomes high, and sometimes the overdose is some sort of a suicide. Because I know, and you've worked with addicts and right now, and you've been an addict before. We know what's going on, but sometimes we play like a Russian roulette with the next one, and that's sometimes when the overdose happens.
Yeah, you just keep pushing the limits. And I'd love to stop for just a second and say I do work for addiction campuses. If anybody's struggling right now and wants help, we're taking 18 to 20,000 calls a month into our call center. They can pick up the phone right now, and I'll say this number now and later on the show is 888-614-2251 for addiction campuses, or go to addictioncampuses.com. It's 888-614-2251. or addictioncampuses.com. So thank you for letting me state that. But yeah, so it's just when when's going to be too far? When you're just going to keep pushing it. And here's the thing that when I talk around the country to students at colleges or to businesses doing drug-free workplace training for addiction campuses, is there's a theory out there that says that the real cause of addiction isn't moral failing. It's not even genetics, and it's not just people making bad decisions. It's actually disconnection.
Yeah.
And if you look at models like 12-step programs and things out there like that, it's all about getting people reconnected. And counseling, therapy, therapy, all these things, yoga, meditation. It's all about getting people reconnected, one with themselves, and in my belief, ultimately with a higher power. And I call that higher power God. You can call it whatever you want, but that's where the real healing comes in, is when you get reconnected with yourself and with something greater than you.
Yes. We're talking to John Mabry. John, I know that working with addiction for 20-some years, everyone has a place, a time. Some call it a hit bottom. Some of it is not really a hit bottom. It's just a time that finally something breaks. I remember I've had many of the members of my family who have addiction. I call myself an addict because I was addicted to cigarettes and nicotine for many, many years, and then food. So I know that the dynamic of addiction is there. Maybe the substances are different, but the dynamic of addiction is there. And there's a time and a place where you finally say, I have to shift who I am and the way I do things because of me. When was that for you, and what got you there? And I hope that by your sharing, that everyone who's listening to us that maybe is in that space of hope that something might change, or that is in a space that says, it'll never happen for me, that they can hear you or hear me and find some hope, a light bulb show up for them, that there is help, and people, no matter what, with the worst type of depression or worst type of addiction, they do get help and they create a fulfilling life for themselves.
Absolutely. That's a great question. A lot of layers to that in my story, and I'll try to sum it up quickly by saying, one, guys, if you're out there and you're struggling, there is always hope. So I went from making really good money, living a very nice lifestyle, driving the car out in Hollywood, on major Hollywood sets, parties at the Playboy Mansion, and I ended up in a trailer on the banks of the Cumberland River outside of Nashville, Tennessee, with a roommate named Beaver. Literally, I had a roommate named Beaver, and that's where my addiction took me, and I didn't know if there was any way back. My wife kicked me out of the house. I wasn't able to see my children. Finances had gone to crap. And what drove me to get the help that I needed was I had gotten a job with Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey's a radio guy. He gets people out of debt, the big total money makeover guy, if anybody's heard of Dave Ramsey. And I had gotten a job with Dave Ramsey, and I had put on an act, and I had put on the actor front just to get into the organization. It took 7 interviews. He interviews people for 7 or 8 interviews. And I got in, had everybody fooled. And when you're drinking at your desk, calling churches on behalf of Dave Ramsey and popping pills, you might have a problem.
Yes.
I didn't know my problem was as deep as it was. And it wasn't until somebody to call me out on it, somebody who I respected, to sit there and go, man, you got a problem, and I can't help you, but I'm going to let you go so you can go get the help that you need.
Yeah.
And so that was my wake up call. That was my bottom, was going, oh my gosh, dude, I can't even sit at a desk and make phone calls without having to be loaded. I mean,
Right.
My life was completely unmanageable. And there's so many people out there that, and maybe it's not drugs and alcohol, maybe you're not popping pills at your desk, but maybe it's pornography, maybe it's food, maybe it's endlessly checking your social media feed. There's all these other different types of addictions. We're all just trying to fill that same void. And it took Dave Ramsey firing me to have me reach out for help and to let other people know that I can't do this on my own.
Yes.
And so,
now tell us about who you are today, and what have you learned from your life that you're sharing? I know that you're sharing it in the way that you work as a counselor, in the High Sobriety podcast. And you have gained something through the whole hardship, all of the losses, loss of your legs, loss of your brother, your friends, loss of long, long, long years of your life. And you've changed yourself. You've come to being another human being, which carries all of the hurt and the sorrow and the wisdom that came with it. And now you're sharing that with everyone else.
Yes, and I'll say, I got to start off and say, I did not change myself. Other people helped change me. God helped change me. Sponsoring a 12-step program has helped change me. My wife has helped change me. My therapist, my trauma therapist. I mean, I have a team of people. So in LA, when you're acting, you want a publicist, and you want, nutritionists, and you want your, somebody to help you work out. You got to have this team around you to help build you up. Well, that's what you got to do in life. You don't have to be a Hollywood actor to have a team of people around you that support you and that you can be real with and go, man, I'm struggling today. I struggle today still with, like, am I enough? I have this, like, perfection type attitude that I grew up with that I'm still, struggling to shake. Do I look okay to everybody else? You know what, man? Like, man, I'm not perfect, but I am able to share those openly with people. And so today, it's all about working for addiction campuses. It's all about getting people to pick up the phone, and they can do that again with calling 888-614-2251 and ask for help. You cannot do this on your own. So when you're drinking at your desk and Dave Ramsey calls you in and fires you, okay, you obviously got a problem. When you work a recovery program and you put people around you to help build you up, today, I'm able to hold down a job. I'm able to travel. I'm able to have a podcast. They approached me and said, "Hey, would you want to do a podcast? We thought this name would be High Sobriety. We thought it'd be really cool and edgy and fun." I was like, "You sure you want me to do it?" Like,
Yeah.
Normally when I get called into the manager's office, I get fired. But this time they called me in and said, "We want to kind of give you a promotion." And it was like, "What?" And so I was able to use my contacts in the entertainment industry. I've had numerous members of the band Korn on my show. We've had Three Doors Down, Three Dog Night. We've had actor David Sullivan on, Lindsay Lohan's dad. We've had him on a few times. And, I mean, just sharing people's stories, and that's where the gift is like I can't keep what I have if I don't give it away.
Exactly. So tell us about Addiction Campuses a bit so that our listeners also know what Addiction Campuses are. What do you guys do? How do you help and support everyone?
Yes, thank you for that opportunity here. We have a network of resources all across the country. We have treatment centers across the country, and we put people in treatment, not just in our treatment centers, but in other treatment centers in every corner of the United States. So if you're struggling, if you have pornography addiction, if you have sex addiction, it doesn't matter, food addiction or eating disorder, it doesn't matter. Give us a call. Call 888-614-2251, and we will have a treatment specialist pick up the phone and walk you through that.
And what is the website?
addictioncampuses.com. And you'll have a chance to talk to a treatment specialist in our call center immediately. We'll have a window pop up that you can, if you don't want to pick up the phone and call, you're kind of hesitant, that's fine. Or if you have a family member that you're hesitant to, talk about, you can just type with a treatment specialist on the phone immediately. So,
have you seen a different shift in the concept of addiction in the recent years or in the past years? I have seen a very, very different feel to the world of addiction. One has been that people have gotten access to pills, which they have combined the pills with alcohol very early, like starting age 13 and 14. So right when they're really growing up, the chemistry of their brain is changing. So by 18, 19, when they're actually coming to our treatment centers, the way that they look at life and the chemistry of life have really changed. And not that there's, there's always ways of taking care of that and being able to move forward. But it seems like the concept of addiction constantly changes. And then the other ones you were talking about, the social medias, the behavioral addictions such as gaming, social media addictions, those have also added to the form of addictions, and then the opiate addictions with pills, and then heroin has become much higher across the United States. Can you talk a little bit about what you see in the campuses and how you help people in all these new forms of addictions that are popping up?
Yeah, so it's going back to, I mentioned it earlier, it's all about connections, getting people reconnected. And when you come to one of Addiction Campus's facilities, you're going to get what I found is just, I went out to a celebrity like rehab place out in Tucson, and I've been to other treatment centers, and I didn't get the compassionate care that I got from the staff that I got at Addiction Campuses. As soon as I stepped on campus after my last relapse 2.5 years ago, I'm sitting there going, what's different about this place? There's something different in the water here. And by day 2, everybody on staff was calling me by my first name. John, we're glad you're here. So glad you're here, John. I was like, man, this is like a different level of compassionate care. So that's what you're going to get when you come to Addiction Campuses, compassionate care. And it doesn't matter, what your addiction is. We can help you if you pick up the phone and call in. But it's all about getting people reconnected, and especially the younger people. People are so disconnected from. I think it starts with me. I'm a parent of a 10, 7, and 4-year-old, and I have to be conscious of how much I'm on my phone or not on my phone in front of them. I'm very conscious of that. I make sure that I'm on my phone and on my computer as little as possible in front of them, just so they see that when I'm there, I'm present. It's about being present. It's about being present in the moment. And but it's so hard when our society says you got to be online all the time. Is it really important for me to check in what my high school buddies, from 25 years ago is doing in Podunk, Texas, on his hunting trip? No, it's not that important. I don't need to be, reminded of that all the time. I do need to be reminded of my own kids and where they're at and where their emotional stability is.
Yes.
So there's personal responsibility involved too. Sometimes we want everybody else to fix us, or we want something else to fix us. Sometimes it's like we just got to take ownership of our own actions. And
very much. I think that it's also great for people to start learning and getting educated. Might as well, if you are on internet, I hope that you start getting educated about addiction, because one of the cornerstones of addiction is the denial that you have an addiction, denial that you have some form of whether you call addiction an illness or a bad habit or a life that is not being managed. But if we start getting information and educated about the dynamic of addiction, because for sure, if you are listening and you don't think you don't have addiction, maybe someone in your family does. And maybe by getting educated about it, you can support them. And as you know, John, that depression and anxiety are side by side. Trauma is side by side with anyone who has addiction. And getting educated about those also helps. Again, if you're using internet consistently, and I know that you are, I hope that you get educated about this. And can you talk a little bit about also the depression, anxiety, the hopelessness that comes, the yearning at times, to commit suicide for many people who just lose hope when they're addicted and they're using, but then somebody helps them and brings them into a space of love and care for them to get reconnected, first with other people, to themselves, and to their higher power. Can you talk a little bit about that phase, please?
Yeah, so I would love to just start off by saying, you know what, if you feel hopeless right now, it's okay. You are okay for feeling the way that you feel. Your feelings are valid. There's probably good reason, and a lot of times it's the reasons that nobody else knows about. After all the rehabs and everything that I went to for my car accident and having my leg amputated, and I found my brother dead from an overdose, when I went back to a trauma therapist and she said, what happened to you as a child? I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I had a really great childhood. My childhood was, really smooth, and I was privileged. And she goes, something happened. What was it? I was like, what? I said, well, I had some ear surgeries as a kid, but that wasn't a big deal. She said, no. I guarantee you that's where your problem started. We're going to explore that. So over the course of several sessions, we ended up coming out that I had 6 ear surgeries as a kid, and I had a transplanted eardrum, and the 3 bones in my left ear are prosthetic bones. It was extremely traumatic to me as a child, and I had no idea that really all my problems set in when I was a child. and I had no idea. I felt insecure, defective, broken. I'm not good enough. I'm unfixable. And it wasn't until I went back and explored that and opened that, can of worms and worked through that I was like, oh my gosh, that's where my class, earlier I stated that I was class clown, most outgoing, most school spirited, and best personality in high school. Well, that's where it all started, because I was so scared and terrified that people weren't going to like me because I didn't even like myself because I felt broken. So a lot of times things can set in early on in childhood, and nobody knows about it. So please go talk to somebody about that. If you feel hopeless, if you feel down, if you feel anxious or depressed, please go talk to somebody. There is hope, and I'm living, breathing proof that you can go from Hollywood to living in a trailer to now having a job and a podcast, and I get to go help change people's lives, and it's only by the grace of God that I'm here today, and the Addiction Campuses has helped me get here.
And yes, you talked about shame. You talked about feeling inadequate and the insecurities that come, that most of these have set up somehow, whether by parents or by circumstances or by situations that have happened. And we have perceived them and kind of took them in and labeled ourselves as someone who has shame, who's not good enough. And then we compensate for that, as you were compensating it by being funny and wanting to get attention in that way to make sure that you were good enough. And you were constantly trying to prove to yourself and everyone who were. And when something happens and takes all of that away and rips it apart, we go back in seeing, what we call self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, well, that's exactly what it is. I'm not good. And that's the point that feels it's like damaging inside of us, the shame, the toxic shame that happens. And many times due to that shame, people go and numb the shame, the anxiety that comes with it, and they go into taking drugs and alcohol and pills. And although maybe yours started with the painkiller because of the operation, but continuation of it comes from that, oh my God, something finally calms down my anxiety and shame. And other people do it through behaviors. Other people do it through other types of drugs and alcohol. And I hope that everyone who's listening to know that every one of us might go through things, and that there's hope. So please call. You have Addiction Campuses, you have John Mabry and his podcast, High Sobriety, and you have all of the people who are out there to support you. So please get help. Thank you so much, John, for coming to the show. And I love to hear your podcast. I'd love to be a guest on your podcast. You should have me also to be a guest on your podcast.
Yes. Well, now that I know you're addicted to cigarettes, that helps me out. You're qualified. Yeah. You're qualified. Or
definitely.
You might be addicted to...
last words to everyone who's listening.
High Sobriety through Addiction Campuses. Go to addictioncampuses.com. Pick up the phone and call 888-614-2251 to get help for you or a loved one right now.
It was a joy to have you, John, with us. And don't go anywhere, everyone. Call us at 951-922-3532. We'll be right back with a wonderful caller who's going to talk to us.
I am the maker, I am the wine. Shake me loose from this vine. I challenge my enemies, the ones that say it cannot be. You're too old, it's too late. Let it go, it's not your fate.
Dr. Foojan Zeine is a psychotherapist, a marriage and family therapist, and a life coach with more than 27 years of experience. She is the author of the Awareness Integration Model, which has been researched and published in numerous international journals. Dr. Foojan has offices in Beverly Hills, Irvine, and Woodland Hills, California, and also consults online and by telephone. Make an appointment with her today by calling 818-648-2140 or go online to www.foojan.com. That's www.foojan.com.
Join the conversation every Monday afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific for Inner Voice, Heartfelt Chat with Dr. Foojan. Dr. Foojan has a direct approach to getting you to free your mind. Inner Voice is a live call-in show where you can chat about your life and all that matters to you in your relationships. Inner Voice, Heartfelt Chat with Dr. Foojan, Monday afternoons at 3 p.m. Pacific on Smart Talk, KMET 1490 AM, and on the internet stream.
Have you ever wished you could just wake up one day, reach across your nightstand, and hit the life reset button? Let's face it, the struggles and frustrations of everyday life leave millions of women and men around the globe yearning for a new way. And the new way is right here in Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine. You can get it now at Foojan.com or Amazon.com. Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want. You deserve it.
Welcome back to the Inner Voice Show. And I'm excited to talk to Yelda. Hi, Yelda.
Hello, how are you, Dr. Zeine?
I'm doing great. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what topic or do you want to talk about and what questions you have?
Yeah, well, I am a working mother. I have 3 kids. I'm married and I work my own hours. I'm a real estate agent. And one of the things that I'm struggling with is not only being a good mother to my kids, just the typical society pressures of being a good friend, being a good wife, and then also just having that alone time for myself. So one of the things that I'm struggling with is that how do I give my kids not only, this family time, but they also are getting older and they require more one-on-one. But I literally don't even have time to, let alone take showers on a timely basis. So it's just really starting to kind of wear on me because my oldest daughter's 10 and she wants a never had before. And so
I think we're losing your voice for a bit, but what I got from you is that you want to be a super mom because not only that you are working, you want to have a career as the real estate agent, and you have 3 kids, which with the different ages and different needs, and as each one of them grows, they have a different need, and they really want you. And if you're not attending to them, then they don't have you, and they also have some expectation from you which you're trying to fulfill, and you also have expectations from yourself in the different realms of your life, in your relationship with your husband, with your friends, with your family members, and with each one of the kids. And it seems like you are becoming really overwhelmed and not knowing how to kind of spread yourself all over. You're getting very, very thin. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right. And a lot of times, I make sure that I'm there at pickup. I drop them off to school every day. I volunteer at school so they see me. And, I feel that I'm doing the best I can. But, then my husband's complaining that we don't go out enough or, it's just coming to the point where now I'm starting to just get very overwhelmed, and it's impacting me on a day-to-day basis because it's a very hard balance because, I really want to be a great mom to my kids. I really want to be a good wife. I want to be a good friend to my friends. And most importantly, I also need to give to myself. Not to say that those things don't fulfill me, but I also, there's just certain things that I like to do by myself as well. And so it's hard because I don't necessarily.
two conversations I'm hearing now, though. One is a time management, and another one is a quality of time management. So not
Yes.
only that you create some time where you are with yourself or with your children or with your husband or friends and so forth, but also as you create that time that you are with them, what is the type of the quality? Are you fully present, and what are you giving and what are you receiving at that time? Because sometimes we compete with people, but our thoughts are somewhere else, so they don't get fulfilled, and you don't feel fulfilled after you spend an hour or two. So I think we're looking at two pieces. One of the issues that I hear would kind of be hard for you, where you have to self-discipline in a whole different way, is that your job is not a 9 to 5 job. So it's not like you have a particular hours, and not only you know those particular hours are there for you to attend to your position, but also everybody else knows, well, don't bother mom from this time to this time because she's working. But your job is a bit of some hours here, some hours there, and then it intervenes with everything else. Is that what I'm also assuming? Is that accurate?
Exactly, because it's a lot easier for my husband because everyone expects him to work in the morning and then he's home in the afternoon. I don't
Yes.
have that
So
flexibility.
maybe this is something first that you can do, Yalda, which is actually take a calendar and start filling the biggest positions in there, that all the things that you got to do, which the times are fixed. Wake up time, sleep time, when you have to take your kids to school. Put all of those in the calendar first, and then
Okay.
put work hours that you can give. Some hours in the morning when kids are at school, some hours maybe in the evening where you have to be with the clients who also work during the day and actually can only
Right.
intervene with you in the evening. Some hours in the weekend, especially for real estate agents, weekends are important, some hours. So block those hours for yourself and say, okay, these are my work hours, which can be like 40 hours or 30 hours, 20 hours,
Right.
as long as you want. After you fill those, then put in, you talked even about showering, make sure you put your hygiene or
Yeah.
exercise or all of those, put them in so they're there and they're not going to change. And then it's the time of create family hours, create date night with your husband, definitely one night just with him, going out for even if it's just 2 hours of going to a restaurant, walking together, just no kids, no sound from anywhere, just the two of you. And then because you have 3 kids, beside the family hours that maybe it's for dinner time, that you can all be together, or sometime in the weekends where you can all be together, separate the individual time. So one evening you can be spending 1 hour or two with one child, while your husband is spending an hour with another, and another one is just doing their homework or having alone time. And this way you'll switch off with some quality time which each one of you and your husband is giving to each one of the children, which is just by themselves. If you schedule those in during the week, you'll see that there's enough time to be given to everyone if you schedule it and then follow the schedule. But
Got
when
it.
you do that, then when you are at the time of that schedule, everything should go away and you just are present fully to that. Like if you go to take a shower, you are just present to yourself, to nurturing yourself, to taking care of yourself, to rejuvenating yourself. If taking, going to exercise, you just take care of yourself at that time. Unless there's
Got it.
emergencies that somebody calls. But if it's not an emergency, don't worry about it. And most things are really not urgent or emergencies. Or if you are with one of your children, then you don't think about the other child or the other, work or anything else. You don't check your text or do anything else, because you are just taking care of your child and that hour that is completely being fulfilled with the two of you. What do you
Got
think
it.
about that?
The sound of it. I mean, it sounds like it can be done, and I do like actually I do that for my kids in terms of what their activities are, but yet I don't do it for myself. And so I know I'm definitely capable of doing it. It's just a matter of doing it. So it does give me hope that I can actually do something about it. And, you touched upon just being present, because that's something I always also try to focus in on, because when I'm not present, my kids pick up on that, and it doesn't feel like alone time with them. So
Exactly.
I definitely, I can definitely relate to that. So.
Believe me, when I've sat down and actually filled up every single hour in the day, we sleep maybe 8 hours and then the other 16 hours. When you account for every single hour, you'll see that if you do things efficiently, there's so much more time out there that are available to you. And if you
Right.
don't try to multitask, it becomes much more efficient, especially when we're talking about relationships. Relationships don't handle multitasking, because when you're sitting there, they really want your presence, and you won't feel fulfilled. You won't feel like a good mother if you are taking care of your child and multitasking with 110 different things. Now, I know that being a mother means that you become a master of multitasking,
Right.
but only when you need to do the multitasking, and you put things together in a way that create a system. And not only you will get fulfilled by that system, but like you said, you will be a role model for your children, because you're also trying to teach the three of them how to have a system of going to school, of hygiene, of everything that they need to do.
Right.
But if
Right.
you don't
Yeah.
do it yourself, then they'll hear you, but they won't be seeing you or looking at you doing it. So they'll see it as a theoretical piece, versus if you also do it systematically with them, with your own life, then it becomes a way of life for them to exist in, to live in, to experience, and to have you. And you won't feel so overwhelmed, and you'll enjoy your children and your husband.
Right. That's the thing. It's like, and when I do finally have that alone time with my husband, I'm like exhausted.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so I think
I
that's
mean,
good
remember,
advice.
last words, and we have to stop, but Rialda, you did all of this to enjoy your life, right? You got
Right.
married,
Right.
you had kids,
Yeah.
you are having a beautiful career, all of it to just play and have fun and enjoy your life. So let's not take that part away from it, because you're doing a good job with all of it, but let's just bring back the enjoyment into it. And thank you so
Right.
much for
Right.
calling me today.
Thank you so much for your advice. I really appreciate it and can't wait to put it into use. But thank you so much.
Thank you. And for
Thanks,
all of
Dr.
you who
Zane.
are listening to us, thank you for being with us. I hope you enjoyed it. This show would be also put on podcast. It's also on KMET. Go in there and put a review on the iTunes podcast for us. And tell your friends to listen and call. And I love being with you, and create a wonderful day for yourself and everyone around you. And thank you, Sean. Until next week. Bye-bye.
The Inner Voice Show is a dialogue between the host and the listeners about their relationships. This show is not an attempt to assess, diagnose, or treat any mental health or illness condition. Please consult your physician, psychiatrist, or psychotherapist for personal matters.
Serving the Inland Empire and desert communities, this is 1490 AM KMET, Banning,
From
Beaumont,
ABC
Redlands,
News.
and Palm Springs.
I'm Richard Cantu. It's early Tuesday morning in Singapore, where President Trump is to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. ABC's Karen Travers is there.
This summit is a critical test of President Trump's negotiating and deal-making skills. The president said over the weekend it won't take him long to determine if Kim Jong-un is ready to commit to a deal to give up his nuclear weapons.
I think within the first minute, I'll know.
And how will the president determine that?
Just my touch, my feel. That's what I do.
Karen Travers, ABC News, traveling with the president in Singapore.
Mr. Trump tweeted that pre-summit meetings are going well. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres among those watching and hoping.
The two leaders are seeking to break out of the dangerous cycle that created so much concern last year.
A federal judge in Washington says he'll rule by the end of July whether President Trump illegally received gifts from foreign governments.
The emolument clause of the Constitution prohibits the president from accepting any payment or benefit from a state or foreign government. Maryland and D.C. brought the lawsuit against President Trump, claiming he's violating the clause by taking money from foreign officials staying at his Pennsylvania Avenue hotel. Federal Judge Peter Massetti seemed receptive to arguments that the case should continue, pointing to the idea that political leaders should remain free from even the appearance